SUVs began to move.
Anne looked at Justina, then at the traffic, then back at the glowing keys in her hand. My friend, she said, I hope your baby can also do transportation miracle, because Lagos Uber will not save us from this one. Justina held her belly. The keys grew hot. And somewhere in the distance, from the direction of the old Ineka house, a bell began to ring. The bell rang from somewhere beyond the traffic. Soft at first, then louder. Not the sound of a church bell, not the sharp cry of a school bell, not the careless clanging of a market alarm. This bell sounded old, like iron remembering fire.
Justina stood at the edge of the market road with one hand on her belly and the other gripping the cowrie keys. Beside her, Anne stared at the two black SUVs creeping forward from across the street, their headlights cutting through the evening like hungry eyes. My friend, Anne whispered, I don't want to panic, but I believe panic has already put on slippers. The first SUV moved closer. The second followed. Pedestrians began stepping away, sensing trouble before they understood it. A suya seller paused mid-turn. A woman carrying a basket of tomatoes pulled her child to her side. Lagos people did not always know the full story, but they knew when Wahala was wearing tinted glass. Justina's phone vibrated again. Another message. This time from Emeka. My father's men are following you. Don't go straight to Emeka house. They will try to stop you. Anne read it over her shoulder and hissed. At least he is now useful by text. Justina looked at the SUVs. Her throat tightened. Emeka, she whispered. What do we do? The baby answered calmly.
Follow the bell.
Anne turned quickly. What did she say? Follow the bell. Anne looked around wildly. Which bell? This Lagos has horn, generator, preacher, speaker, and pure water woman shouting. Which one is bell? The sound came again. Clearer now. Dong. 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 The cowrie keys grew hotter in Justina's palm, then pulled gently toward a narrow alley between a closed jewelry shop and a building painted yellow with peeling walls. Justina looked at Anne. This way. Anne followed her gaze and frowned. That alley looks like where people enter and come out with life lessons. The first SUV suddenly accelerated. A man leaned out from the passenger window. Madam Justina! Stop there! Anne grabbed the fabric bags. Okay, life lesson now. They ran. Justina could not run fast because of the pregnancy, but fear gave her feet a strength her body did not know it had. Anne stayed beside her, one hand supporting her back while carrying two bags, like a woman fleeing with both destiny and wholesale business. Behind them, car doors slammed. Men shouted. The alley swallowed the noise of the main road. It was narrow, damp, and darker than it should have been. Old posters peeled from the walls. A broken pipe dripped into a gutter. At the far end, the bell rang again. Justina followed it and breathed hard. My friend, after this story ends, I am joining Jim. Not for beauty, for spiritual emergencies. They turned a corner and found an old Danfo bus parked across the alley, blocking the path. Anne stopped hold closed. The men's footsteps grew louder behind them. Justina's heart pounded. Neka? The baby whispered.
Touch the bus.
Justina blinked. Touch the boss. Anne stared at her. This is not the time to greet transport. But Justina stepped forward and touched the rusted yellow side of the danfo with the cowrie keys. The bell rang once. A bus lights flickered. Then, with a loud cough, the old danfo started by itself. Anne screamed, "Jesus has entered public transport!" The bus rolled forward slowly, just enough to open a gap beside the wall.
Move.
Princess Neka said. Justina and Anne squeezed through. Behind them, the men reached the bus. One tried to follow through the gap, but the bus suddenly reversed a few inches, trapping his jacket against the wall. He shouted, "My coat!" Anne looked back. "Tell Chief to buy you another one." They hurried out of the alley onto a quieter street Justina did not recognize. The bell was louder now. At the end of the street stood an old building squeezed between modern shops. Its signboard was faded but still readable. Neka House. Justina stopped. The building was not grand like the Okoye mansion. It had no high gate, no marble fountain, no security post, no imported lions at the entrance. It was 3 stories tall, old but dignified, with wooden balconies, iron railings, and wide windows covered with carved shutters. Vines climbed one side of the wall. Above the entrance hung a bronze bell. It was swinging by itself. Dong. 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 Anne stood beside Justina, mouth open. "So, this is our headquarters."
Justina looked at the sign. Her name was not there, but somehow the place recognized her. The keys in her hand cooled. The front door opened. No one stood behind it. Princess Eneka whispered.
Enter before they reach us.
Justina and Anne climbed the short steps and entered. The door closed behind them. The noise of pursuit vanished. Inside, Eneka house smelt of dust, rain, old wood, dried lavender, and fabric long preserved from careless hands. The entrance hall was wide and dim, with shelves on both sides. Rolls of fabric sat wrapped in brown paper. Old ledgers rested behind glass cabinets. Framed photographs hung on the walls. Women in wrappers, women in hats, women standing beside market stalls, women signing documents, women laughing with hands on hips, women holding babies. Justina moved slowly toward one photograph. Nwakigo stood among them, younger than in the mirror memory, smiling. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly. Justina touched the frame with trembling fingers. She looked happy, she whispered. Anne's voice softened before they entered her story with bad intentions. At the center of the hall stood a round wooden table. On it lay a brass bowl filled with water. As Justina approached, the water rippled. A woman's voice filled the hall. Not Mama Shade's, not the baby's tiny voice. A deeper voice, rich, feminine, and ancient. Custodian returned. And grabbed Justina's arm. Who said that? Please announce yourself with face and ID card. The water rose from the bowl, twisting upward like a small clear serpent.
Light shimmered inside it, forming the shape of a woman. Princess Eneka appeared. Not as a newborn, not fully human. A glowing figure dressed in midnight blue fabric, patterned with gold calabashes and river lines. Cowries adorned her hair. Her eyes were the same eyes as the statue in Chief Obina's study. Justina could not breathe and dropped the bags, then quickly picked one back up. Sorry, I respect you, but fabrics are expensive. Princess Eneka looked at Anne. For one impossible second, amusement touched her face. Loyal mouth, she said. Anne held her chest. Your Highness, I accept the title. Justina stepped forward, tears filling her eyes. Are you my baby? The figure looked at her with deep tenderness. I am the spirit that returned through your baby. I am the memory, the blessing, and the witness. But the child in your womb is yours, Justina. She will be born human. She will cry, laugh, eat, disturb your sleep, and maybe inherit your stubbornness.
Anne whispered, and small attitude. Princess Ineka's eyes glimmered. That too. Justina covered her mouth as tears spilled down. The fear she had been carrying loosened a little. Her daughter was not a monster, not a curse, not a spirit pretending to be a child. She was a baby carrying a blessing older than the family that rejected her. Princess Ineka turned, and the hall brightened. The photographs on the walls began to glow one by one. These women built what men later claimed, she said. They traded with wisdom. They bought land when land was mocked. They saved money when men wasted it on pride. They fed widows. They trained girls. They created wealth that was meant to serve families, not enslave them. Justina wiped her face. Then, why did you allow the Okories to take it?
Princess Neka's expression saddened. Blessing does not force itself where greed is worshipped. Nwakego trusted love. Ezekiel chose ambition. Obina chose fear. Augusta chose position. And each choice buried truth deeper. The water figure turned toward the staircase. A line of light moved from her hand and touched the wall. A hidden panel opened. Inside was a safe. The cowrie keys in Justina's hand rattled. Princess Neka said, "Open it." Justina stepped forward. Her hand shook as she inserted one key into the safe lock. Click. The door opened. Inside were documents wrapped in oilcloth, title deeds, old share certificates, land maps, business ledgers, photographs, letters, and a sealed envelope marked, "To the daughter who returns." Justina took it slowly. The handwriting was delicate but strong. Nwakego's handwriting. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter. The paper was fragile, but the words were still clear. Justina read aloud, voice breaking. "My daughter of tomorrow, if this letter reaches you, then they have rejected another womb-carrying female blessing. Do not think your pain began with you. You are standing inside a river of women who were mocked before they were needed, used before they were praised, and erased before they were remembered." Anne's eyes filled. Justina continued, "I loved Ezekiel, and love made me trust him with what belonged to many women. That was my mistake. Never let love make you surrender your wisdom. A man who loves you must not need your silence to feel powerful. Justina stopped. The words entered her heart like they had been written for her marriage. Emeka, her silence, her waiting, her begging him to choose. She read on. If the child you carry is a daughter, protect her. If she is a son, teach him. The world will not heal by raising powerful daughters alone. It must also raise sons who do not fear them. Anne whispered, that one should be framed on every family wall. Justina continued, tears falling onto the page. The wealth recorded here belongs to the Women's Union and to the custodian who returns through my bloodline. Use it not for revenge alone, but for restoration. Feed women, train girls, build homes where daughters are not treated as debts. And when those who stole from us kneel, do not become them. The last line was written darker. Remember, wealth is not the real inheritance. Wisdom is. Justina lowered the letter. The hall was silent. Even Anne had no joke ready.
Princess Nika spoke softly. This is the truth. Justina looked at the documents inside the safe. Will this be enough to prove everything? Yes, Princess Nika said. Legally, spiritually, historically. The properties, the early capital, the disputed transfers, the trust terms, the witness statements hidden by the women who survived. Everything is here. Anne wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. So Chief Obina is finished? Princess Nika looked at her. No, he's been invited to choose confession before disgrace finishes the work. Anne sighed. Spirits are very patient. Me, I prefer disgrace first. Justina almost laughed through her tears. Then the front door shook. A heavy bang echoed through the hall. Anne jumped. Disgrace has reached the gate. Another bang. Chief Obina's voice thundered from outside. Justina, open this door. Princess Nika's glowing form flickered. Justina clutched the documents. How did he find us? The goddess turned to the door. Greed always knows the road to what it is losing. A third bang shook dust from the ceiling. Lady Augusta's voice followed, panicked. Obina, stop, please. Then Emeka's voice. Papa, don't do this. Chief Obina shouted, break it. Anne whispered, please tell me Enika House has security. The bronze bell above the entrance rang once from inside. Princess Enika raised her hand. The photographs on the walls glowed brighter. The women in them turned their faces toward the door. Anne gasped, pictures are now looking at people. Okay. Justina's heart pounded, but she did not move backward. The baby inside her kicked once. Princess Enika's form slowly dissolved back into the water, but her voice remained. Tonight, they will see what they buried. But remember, Justina, this is not only about winning. It is about choosing what kind of woman wealth will make you. The door burst open.
Chief Obina entered first, breathing hard, his face twisted with desperation. Behind him were two men carrying iron rods. Lady Augusta stood behind them, crying. Emeka pushed past one man, trying to reach his father. "Papa, stop!" Chief Obina's eyes went straight to the open safe. Then to the papers in Justina's hands. His face became wild. "Give me those documents." Justina stepped back, but not in fear. In refusal. "No." Chief Obina laughed bitterly. "You think you understand what you are holding? Those papers can destroy everything. Thousands of workers, families, contracts. The Okorie name." Justina's voice was steady. "Your family destroyed Nwakego first." Lady Augusta cried out softly. Chief Obina pointed at her. "That woman is dead. Let the dead stay dead." The entire building went cold. The photographs on the walls darkened. Anne whispered, "Wrong thing to say." The brass bowl of water rose again, but this time it turned dark like storm clouds. Princess Neka's voice filled the hall. "You buried her, but you did not bury what she owned." Chief Obina staggered back. The men with iron rods dropped them immediately and ran out. Anne waved after them. "Good decision." Chief Obina stared at the water, trembling. "What do you want from me?" The room answered with silence. Then the old mirror from the hidden shop appeared on the far wall, though Justina had not seen it there before. Its surface rippled. Nwakego appeared in it, pregnant, wounded, but standing. Lady Augusta screamed and fell to her knees. Chief Obina shook his head. "No." Nwakego's voice came softly through the mirror. "Obina." The great Chief Obina began to cry. Not loudly, not dramatically. Tears simply escaped him, as if his body had finally confessed what his mouth had carried for years. "I was afraid," he whispered. Nwakego looked at him. "You were greedy," he sobbed once. Lady Augusta crawled forward, weeping. "Forgive me. I was young. I wanted position. I thought if you stayed, I would lose everything." Nwakego's eyes moved to her. "You helped them erase me." Lady Augusta bent her head to the floor. "Yes." Emeka stood frozen, tears running freely. The mirror brightened. Nwakego turned toward Justina. "My daughter." Justina's whole body shook. "Yes." Nwakego smiled sadly. "Do not let their guilt become your prison. Take back what was stolen. But do not raise your child on bitterness. Bitterness is another kind of inheritance." Justina cried openly now. "I don't know how to do this." Nwakego's smile deepened. "You will learn. Women before you learned with less." The mirror began to fade. Chief Obina suddenly lunged towards it. "Wait! Tell me how to stop the transfer!" Anne shouted. "See this man? Ancestor appears and you are asking customer care for refund?" Princess Neka's voice returned, firm and final. "The transfer cannot be stopped.
it can only be purified. Chief Obinna turned to the water. How? Confess, restore, surrender the stolen holdings, fund the women whose names your family erased, and release the daughter you rejected. Chief Obinna shook his head, horrified. Never. The room darkened. The building trembled. Outside, thunder rolled, though the sky had been clear minutes ago. Princess Nneka's voice became deeper. Then lose what you worship. Every phone in the room began to ring. Chief Obinna's, Lady Augusta's, Emeka's, Anne's, Justina's. Alerts poured in. News, financial notices, legal notifications, trustee statements, investor withdrawals, freezing orders. The Okori empire was unraveling in real time. Chief Obinna stared at his phone, shaking. No. Anne looked at her own phone and whispered, "It is everywhere." A breaking post had gone viral. Okori family trust under review after ancestral ownership documents surface. Another billionaire real estate dynasty faces claims of stolen women's union assets. Another, Justina Nwosu, named returned custodian in activated Nneka House Trust. Lady Augusta covered her mouth. Emeka looked at Justina stoned. But Justina was not looking at the phone. She was looking at Chief Obinna. This was the man who had reduced her daughter to a threat. The man who had tried to push her into abortion or divorce. The man who had sent doctors to call her mad. The man whose family had buried her ancestor. Now, he stood before her, losing everything he had protected with lies. And for one dangerous second, Justina felt satisfaction. Sharp, sweet, almost intoxicating. Then Nwakego's letter trembled in her hand. Do not become them. Justina closed her eyes. When she opened them, she said, Chief Obinna. He looked up, broken and furious. I will not hide the truth to save your pride. But I will not destroy innocent workers because of your sin. The room quieted. I will work with the trustees. The stolen holdings will return to the Women's Union Trust. Any business built from those holdings will be audited. Workers will be protected where possible. Women whose families were cheated will be compensated. An Nneka house will be restored. Chief Obinna stared at her. Who do you think you are? Justina touched her belly. Then she lifted her chin. I am the woman you sent away with nothing. The bronze bell rang once. Princess Nneka's voice whispered through the hall. And she returned with everything. Lady Augusta wept harder. Emeka lowered his head. Chief Obinna sank into a chair as if his bones had finally become old. Outside, rain began to fall. Not heavy, soft, clean. The kind of rain that washes dust from buried names. Anne wiped her face and sniffed. This is very emotional. But please, nobody should forget that we have not eaten dinner. Justina laughed through her tears. Even Emeka gave a broken, helpless smile. But the moment did not last. The safe opened wider by itself. Inside, beneath the documents, a small golden calabash rolled forward. It stopped at Justina's feet. Princess Nika's voice returned, softer now. One more truth remains. Justina bent slowly and picked it up. The calabash was warm. What truth? The hall lights dimmed. The rain outside grew louder. Princess Nika said, "The child in your womb is not only the returned blessing, she is also the final judge of the Okorie bloodline." Emeka looked up sharply. Justina's heart began to pound. Chief Obina whispered, "What does that mean?" The golden calabash opened by itself. Inside was a small folded paper, untouched by time. Justina opened it with trembling hands. There was only one sentence written inside. "The father who rejects her shall lose his name. The father who protects her shall rebuild it." Everyone turned slowly toward Emeka. Emeka's face went pale. Princess Nika whispered, "Now we will know whether the son is different from the father." For a long moment, nobody moved. The sentence inside the golden calabash seemed to hang in the air, heavier than thunder. "The father who rejects her shall lose his name. The father who protects her shall rebuild it." Everyone slowly turned toward Emeka. He stood near the open safe, his face pale, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. Rain tapped against the wooden shutters of Emeka house, soft but steady, as if the sky itself had taken a seat to listen. Chief Obina stared at his son. Lady Augusta stared at him too, but with fear in her eyes. Justina did not speak. She could not. Her heart was beating too loudly. The child in her womb was still, almost as if she too was waiting. Anne looked from one face to another and whispered, "This family matter has become final exam." No one laughed, not even her. Emeka swallowed hard. What does it mean? Princess Nneka's voice came from the brass bowl, calm and deep. "It means what it says." Chief Obina gripped the arm of the chair where he sat. "This is manipulation." The room went colder. The photographs on the wall flickered with soft light, and the faces of the women in them seemed to sharpen, as though they were tired of hearing that word. Manipulation. That was what guilty people called truth when it refused to kneel. Chief Obina pointed toward the brass bowl. "You spirits speak in riddles and threats, then expect men to bow. I will not bow." Anne muttered, "Chief, you are already sitting like someone whose knees resigned." Lady Augusta snapped weakly, "Anne, must you talk?" Anne turned to her. "Mommy, if your family had talked truth earlier, my own mouth would be resting." Justina placed a gentle hand on Anne's arm. Anne exhaled and stepped back.
Emeka looked at Princess Nneka's reflection in the water. If I protect my daughter, what happens? The water became still. Then the goddess answered, "You will lose what your father built with fear, but you will gain the chance to build what your daughter can inherit without shame." Emeka closed his eyes. That answer was not sweet. It did not promise easy forgiveness. It did not promise his marriage would return. It did not promise Justina would run into his arms and call him her hero. It promised loss and a chance. Chief Obinna leaned forward. "Listen to yourself, Emeka. She is asking you to throw away your name." Emeka looked at him. "No, Papa. You are the one who turned our name into something dirty." Chief Obinna's face hardened. Lady Augusta gasped softly. Emeka's voice shook, but he continued. "All my life, you taught me that the Okorie name meant strength, respect, legacy. I believed you. I wore it like armor. But today, I saw where that legacy began. I saw a pregnant woman begging for her life inside your father's house. I saw you there. I saw Mama there. I saw the lie you people handed to me and called tradition." His eyes filled, but he did not look away. "You made me afraid of my own daughter before she was born." Justina's throat tightened. That sentence touched something deep inside her. Because it was true. The family had planted fear into him long before he became a husband. They had trained him to see a girl child as danger. They had made inheritance bigger than conscience. But training did not remove responsibility. Emeka had still chosen silence, and silence had almost cost them everything. "You foolish boy. Do you think this woman will take you back because of this performance? She has already removed your ring. She has already taken your child away from this family. You will lose me, lose your inheritance, lose your wife, and stand alone. Is that what you want?" Emeka looked at Justina. Their eyes met. Justina's eyes were wet, but guarded. She was not begging him to choose her now. She was not stretching out her hand. She was not promising comfort. She was only watching. The way a wounded woman watches a man who once said forever and then became quiet when forever became expensive. Emeka turned back to his father. "I don't know what I will lose," he said, "but I know what I refuse to become." Chief Obinna laughed bitterly. "Big words." "No," Emeka said. "Lit words, but true ones." Silence followed. Princess Nneka's voice came again. "Then speak before the house." The round table at the center of the hall trembled gently. The old ledger in Justina's bag began to glow. The safe opened fully, and the documents inside rose into the air, circling slowly above them like birds. A sheet of fresh paper appeared on the table. Beside it, a fountain pen rolled forward and whispered, "Ancestral stationery. Efficient." Princess Nneka said, "Emeka Okorie, son of Obinna, grandson of Ezekiel, father of the unborn daughter. Choose with your mouth what your silence once denied." Emeka stared at the paper. Chief Obinna moved quickly toward him. "Do not touch that pen." Emeka did not move. Chief Obinna grabbed his arm. "I said do not touch it." For the first time, Emeka pulled his arm free. Not violently, firmly. "Papa, leave me." Those 3 words seemed to shake Chief Obinna more than the cracking ground, glowing documents, and weeping portrait combined. Leave me. The command every controlling father fears from a grown son. Chief Obinna staggered back. Emeka picked up the pen. His hand trembled. He looked at Justina. "I cannot undo what I did," he said softly. "I cannot pretend my apology is enough. I failed you when you needed me most. I let fear sit where love should have stood." Justina's lips trembled, but she remained silent. Emeka looked down at her belly. "And my daughter, I rejected you with my silence before I ever held you with my hands. I am sorry." The baby moved gently. Justina placed both hands over her womb. Princess Nneka did not speak. This apology was not for the goddess to decorate. It was for a father to make without reward. Emeka turned to the paper and began to write. He wrote slowly, saying each word aloud as the ink appeared darker than normal ink should. "I, Emeka Obinna Okorie, publicly reject every family condition, inheritance clause, spoken curse, hidden agreement, or tradition that treats my unborn daughter as a threat, burden, curse, or lesser child." The room grew warmer. Chief Obinna's breathing became loud. Emeka continued. "I acknowledge that my wife, Justina Nwusu, was pressured, threatened, and forced to choose between marriage and the life of our daughter. I acknowledge that I failed to protect her when I should have stood with her." Lady Augusta began to cry quietly. Emeka's voice broke, but he kept reading. "I acknowledge that the wealth of the Okorie family was built in part from the labor, wisdom, assets, and trust of Nwakego Nwusu and the Nika Women's Wealth Union. I support the full legal review, restoration, and transfer of all holdings proven to belong to them." Chief Obinna shouted, "Emeka!" The paper flashed with light. Chief Obinna stumbled back as if the shout had been thrown at him. Emeka did not stop. "I choose to protect my daughter. I choose to honor her mother. I choose truth over inheritance, conscience over comfort, and restoration over stolen legacy." He paused. Then he looked directly at Chief Obinna. "And if choosing them means losing the Okorie name as you defined it, then let that name go." The pen stopped. The room became completely silent. Then the paper lifted from the table. It folded itself once, twice, 3 times. A gold seal appeared on it in the shape of a calabash. Princess Enika's voice filled the hall. "Witnessed." The bronze bell rang once. The building exhaled. Justina did not realize she had been holding her breath until air rushed out of her lungs. Anne wiped her eyes and quickly looked away. "I am not crying. Dust from ancestral paper entered my eye." Lady Augusta sank to her knees. "Emeka," she whispered. He turned to her. For the first time that night, Lady Augusta did not look like the proud matriarch of a billionaire family. She looked like a woman who had spent years holding a lie so tightly that it had grown roots inside her. I was afraid too, she said, voice shaking. When I married your father, I thought Nwakego was my enemy. I thought if she returned, I would lose my place. Your grandfather told us she wanted to destroy the family. I believed him because believing him protected me. She turned toward Justina and bowed her head. I helped them reject her, and I helped reject you. Justina watched her carefully. Lady Augusta cried harder. I cannot excuse it. I cannot wash it away with tears. I was wrong. Chief Obina snapped. Augusta, enough! She turned on him suddenly. No, Obina. You have said enough for all of us for too many years. Everyone froze. Even Anne whispered, "Ah!" Lady Augusta stood. Her voice grew stronger through tears. I watched that woman beg. I watched your father twist the story. I watched you inherit his fear. I watched myself become a woman who punished other women because I did not want to face the first woman we destroyed. She looked at Justina's belly and sobbed. And when I heard the baby was a girl, I did not see a grandchild. I saw judgment. That is my shame. Justina's eyes filled. She did not trust Lady Augusta. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But there was something different in confession. It did not erase harm, but it opened a window in a room that had been suffocating for years. Chief Obina looked from his wife to his son, then to Justina. You are all fools, he whispered. The room darkened again. Princess Neka's voice came, no longer gentle. Obina Okorie. He stiffened. The water in the brass bowl rose high, forming the full glowing figure of Princess Neka once more. Your son has spoken. Your wife has confessed. The rejected mother has stood. The child has been protected. Only you remain. Chief Obina shook his head slowly. I did what I had to do. No, Justina said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Chief Obina turned to her. Justina stepped forward, still holding Nwakego's letter. You did what you wanted to do. There is a difference. His eyes flashed. Justina continued. You wanted wealth without debt, respect without truth, a family name without accountability. You wanted women to suffer quietly so men could continue sitting comfortably. Chief Obina's jaw clenched. You know nothing about what it takes to build an empire. Justina smiled sadly. No, Chief. I am learning exactly what it takes. A woman built it. Men stole it. Another woman is here to restore it. The words struck the room. Anne whispered, Put it on billboard. Chief Obina suddenly moved toward the safe. Maybe he wanted the documents. Maybe the golden calabash. Maybe one last piece of control. But before he reached it, The floor beneath him lit up with golden lines. The lines formed a circle around him. He froze. From the old mirror on the wall, Nwakego appeared again. This time, she was not crying. She stood tall, one hand on her pregnant belly, her eyes steady. "Obinna," she said. His face collapsed. For a moment, Justina saw him not as chief, not as billionaire, not as tyrant, but as the young man from the memory. Afraid, ambitious, weak, guilty. Nwakego looked at him without hatred. That made it worse. "You cannot carry stolen wealth into peace," she said. "Confess and lose the lie. Refuse and lose yourself with it." Chief Obinna's lips trembled. His pride fought. His fear fought back. His guilt stood between them like a witness. Lady Augusta whispered, "Obinna, please." Emeka said, "Papa, end it." Justina said nothing. This was not her confession to force. Chief Obinna looked at the documents floating above the table. He looked at the photographs of the women. He looked at Nwakego. Then finally, he looked at Justina's belly. For the first time, his voice lost all authority. "I was there," he whispered. The golden circle brightened and covered her mouth. Chief Obinna sank to his knees. "I was there when she came. I helped my father send her away. I believed she would ruin us. I believed the daughter in her womb would take everything. When things went wrong, when she fell, when she stopped breathing." His voice broke. Lady Augusta sobbed. Emeka closed his eyes. Chief Obinna continued, tears falling freely now. "My father said we must bury it. Bury her. Bury the records. Bury the story. He said if people knew the wealth came from women, they would challenge us forever." He covered his face. "So we changed the warning. We told ourselves the female child was danger. But the danger was us." The room trembled softly. Not in anger this time. In release. Justina felt a pressure lift from the air. The baby inside her moved gently, almost like a sigh. Princess Eneka spoke. "Confession has opened the first gate." Chief Obinna looked up quickly, hope flashing across his wet face. "Then the transfer can stop." The room went still. Anne stared at him. "Chief, you just confessed murder cover-up and still ask about transfer? Your greed has stamina." Princess Eneka's eyes hardened. "No. Confession is not a receipt for stolen goods. It is only the beginning of repair." Chief Obinna lowered his head. This time, he had no argument left. Princess Eneka turned to Justina. "Custodian, what do you choose?" Justina's heart jumped. "Me?" "Yes. The truth has been revealed. The father has spoken. The elder has confessed. The thief has admitted. Now, the custodian must decide the path of restoration. All eyes moved to her. Justina suddenly felt the weight of everything. The documents, the trust, the wealth, Nwakego's death, her unborn daughter, Emeka's apology, Lady Augusta's tears, Chief Obina's confession, Anne's loyal presence, the women in the photographs, and the future waiting like an unopened door. Anger was still inside her. How could it not be? They had tried to destroy her. They had almost destroyed her child. But Nwakego's letter burned gently in her hand. Do not become them. Justina lifted her head. I choose restoration, she said. The room brightened. But restoration is not silence. The truth will be documented. The legal process will continue. Every stolen asset linked to the women's union must return to the trust. Every family cheated must be traced. Every woman whose name was erased must be named again. She looked at Chief Obina. You will step down from control of the disputed holdings. He nodded slowly, defeated. She looked at Lady Augusta. You will publicly correct the lie that a girl child is a curse. Lady Augusta whispered, I will. Justina looked at Emeka. Her voice softened but did not weaken. And you will have to prove your words with your life, not tonight emotion. Emeka nodded, tears in his eyes. I know. Justina touched her belly. As for my daughter, she will not be used as a symbol for your guilt. She will not be dragged into your family politics. She will be loved, protected, and raised free. The bronze bell rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. The golden calabash in Justina's hand opened fully. From inside it rose a small light, warm and soft. The light moved towards her belly and rested there. Princess Enika smiled. The child is released from judgment. Justina gasped. What does that mean? It means she no longer has to carry the punishment of men. She may now be born as a child, not a weapon. Justina broke down. Not from fear, from relief. Emeka covered his face and wept and held Justina tightly, crying openly now. Thank God, because baby had too much job description before birth. Through her tears, Justina laughed. Princess Enika's glowing form began to fade. My work is not finished, she said. But the heaviest chain has broken. Nwakego's image in the mirror smiled at Justina. My daughter of tomorrow. Raise her well. Justina nodded, crying. I will. The mirror dimmed. The documents slowly returned to the safe, except the sealed paper Emeka had signed and the records Justina needed. Those settled neatly into her bag. The rain outside stopped. Silence filled Nneka house. Clean silence. Not the silence of secrets. The silence after truth has spoken. Chief Obina remained on his knees. Lady Augusta sat beside him, broken. Emeka stood near Justina but did not reach for her. He had learned, at least for tonight, not to demand what he had not yet earned. Anne wiped her face and sniffed loudly. Okay, since everybody has confessed, cried, and transferred destiny, please, can we now discuss food? Because restoration on empty stomach is risky. Justina laughed. A tired, emotional laugh. Then she looked around Nneka house. The photographs of the women seemed brighter now. The air felt warmer. Somewhere upstairs, a door opened by itself. Mama Shade's voice echoed gently through the hall. Though she was nowhere to be seen, the house accepts the custodian. The bronze bell rang one final time. And at that exact moment, Justina felt the first real contraction. Her smile disappeared. Anne noticed first. Justina gripped the edge of the table. Another wave of pain came, stronger. Emeka stepped forward. What is it? Justina looked up, eyes wide. I think Anne dropped everything in her hands. No. Princess, please hold meeting inside small. We have not packed hospital bag. Justina breathed hard. Her water broke.
The whole room froze. Then, Princess Nneka's voice whispered, soft as morning.
The daughter is coming.
For 1 full second, nobody moved. Not Chief Obina, still on his knees beside the broken pride of his ancestors. Not Lady Augusta, whose face had already suffered enough shock for one lifetime. Not Emeka, who stood staring at Justina as if his entire world had suddenly changed direction. Not Anne, whose mouth opened and closed twice before sound finally came out. Then Anne screamed, "Hospital!" The word bounced through Nneka house like an alarm. Justina gripped the edge of the wooden table, breathing through the pain that tightened around her belly and spread down her back. "It's too early," she whispered. Her voice trembled. The fear returned quickly. Not fear of Chief Obina. Not fear of family curses. Not fear of glowing documents, crying portraits, or old spirits. This was a mother's fear. Raw. Human. What if something is wrong? Emeka rushed toward her, but stopped just before touching her, remembering the distance she had placed between them. "Justina," he said, voice shaking, "please let me help you." Another contraction seized her. This time she cried out. That sound broke whatever pride still remained in the room. Lady Augusta stood immediately, wiping her face. "We need to go now. My driver is outside. The hospital..." "No," Anne snapped. Everyone looked at her. Anne pointed at Lady Augusta. "With respect, nobody is taking my friend to any hospital arranged by this family. The last doctor came with madness certificate in his pocket." Lady Augusta flinched. She deserved it. But there was no time for old wounds to start another meeting. Emeka quickly pulled out his phone. "I'll call an ambulance, a different hospital. Any hospital Justina chooses." Anne looked at him sharply. "Good. Sense has entered." Justina breathed hard, one hand over her belly. Princess Nneka's voice came, softer than before.
Do not fear, Mummy. I am coming at the right time.
Justina closed her eyes. "You call this right time?" Anne leaned close. "What did she say?" She said she's coming at the right time and threw both hands up. Royal children and dramatic entrance. Could she not wait till morning? From somewhere inside the house, Mama Shade's voice echoed calmly. Take her upstairs. And fools. Upstairs? Mama, are we delivering baby in ancestral boutique? The staircase lights came on by themselves.
A door opened on the second floor. Mama Shade appeared at the top of the stairs, holding a white towel and a small brass lamp. She will not reach the hospital in time, the old woman said. Emeka went pale. What? Mama Shade looked at Justina. The child has chosen where to be born. Anne shook her head. No, I respect tradition, but I also respect oxygen, nurses, and those hospital beds that can bend up and down. Justina cried out again. This contraction was stronger. Her knees almost gave way. Emeka caught her before she fell. This time, she did not push him away. Not because all was forgiving, but because pain has its own government. Justina, he whispered, holding her carefully. I'm here. She gripped his arm hard enough to hurt him. Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it. She looked into his eyes through the pain. Even if she comes as a girl? His face broke. Yes, he said. Especially because she comes as a girl. Justina stared at him for one breath. Then another pain came and she shouted, then stop talking and move. And clapped once. Correct. Romance can continue after delivery. They helped Justina up the stairs. Emeka supported one side and supported the other, carrying fear, towels and commentary all at once. Lady Augusta followed behind, crying quietly and muttering prayers. Chief Obina remained downstairs for a moment, staring after them like a man watching the future leave him behind. Then slowly, painfully, he stood and followed. Upstairs, the open room was not what Justina expected. It was not dusty. It was not frightening. It was not filled with strange charms or dark corners. It was a beautiful old bathing room. The walls were painted soft cream. White curtains moved gently, though no window was open. A wide bed stood in the center, covered in clean white sheets. Beside it were bowls of warm water, towels, herbs, lanterns, and a framed photograph of the women of Neka House standing proudly together. In the photograph, Nwakego stood in front. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly. Justina saw it and began to cry. Anne helped her sit on the bed. My friend, please cry later. For now, breathe. I watched 3 YouTube videos on childbirth when my cousin was pregnant, so I am practically assistant nurse. Mama Shade looked at her. Anne raised her hands. I said assistant, not consultant. Emeka knelt beside the bed, holding Justina's hand. Lady Augusta hovered near the door, unsure if she was allowed to come closer. For the first time since Justina had known her, the woman looked small, not weak, small. Like pride had been stripped away and only regret remained. She whispered, Justina, may I help? Anne opened her mouth, but Justina lifted one finger and closed it. Justina looked at Lady Augusta through sweat and tears. You will not command me here. Lady
Lady Augusta shook her head quickly. No. You will not call my daughter a curse. Never again. You will not touch her unless I allow you. Lady Augusta's tears fell. I understand. Justina breathed through another wave of pain. Then she nodded once. Lady Augusta came forward and took a towel from Mama Shade with trembling hands. Chief Obina stood at the doorway. Nobody invited him in. Nobody chased him away. That was punishment enough. To stand at the edge of a room where his rejected granddaughter was about to enter the world, knowing he had almost lost the right to even witness it. Mama Shade moved with surprising strength and calm. She guided Justina's breathing, checked her, and spoke words that sounded half medical, half ancestral. Breathe, daughter. Do not fight the river. Let it carry what it came to carry.
Anne stood near Justina's head, wiping sweat from her face. My friend, you are doing well, very well. If shouting helps, shout. If biting helps, bite Emeka. He owes you. Emeka said quickly, "Oh, it's okay." Justina squeezed his hand and groaned. "Don't tempt me." Even through the pain, a small laugh moved around the room. It was strange. A woman in labor, a betrayed wife, a trembling husband, a guilty mother-in-law, a broken patriarch, an old market guardian, a loud friend holding the whole room together with jokes and loyalty. And somewhere above them, the unseen women of Eneka house seemed to gather. The lanterns flickered softly. The photographs on the wall glowed one by one. Outside, rain began again, but gently, like hands washing the roof. Another contraction came. Justina cried out, and Emeka bowed his head over her hand. He whispered, "So sorry." She was too deep in pain to answer softly. "Then pray," she snapped. He began praying immediately. Not polished prayers, not rich family prayers, simple ones. God, please keep them safe. Please, please. Anne nodded. Good. Heaven understands direct English. The labor moved quickly. Too quickly for anyone to pretend they were in control. Mama Shade's voice remained steady. Again, Justina. Push when it comes. Justina shook her head, sobbing, "I can't." Princess Nneka whispered, gentle and close.
You can, Mommy.
Justina cried harder. "Don't advise me from inside. Come out and do your part." Anne gasped. "Did you just quarrel with the baby?" Justina screamed, "Yes!" Mama Shade smiled. Good. Anger gives strength. Use it. The next contraction rose like a wave. Justina pushed. The room seemed to brighten. The bronze bell downstairs rang once. She pushed again. The windows opened by themselves and cool air entered. She pushed a third time, crying out from the deepest part of herself. Then suddenly, a baby cried. Not a strange laugh, not a spiritual voice. A real cry. Sharp, tiny, alive. The whole room froze. Mama Shade lifted the baby carefully, wrapped her in a white cloth and smiled. "A daughter," she said. Justina collapsed back against the pillows, sobbing.
Anne burst into tears so loudly, one would think she had delivered the child herself. She is here. Our customer service princess is here.
Lady Augusta covered her mouth, shaking.
Emeka stared at the baby, tears running down his face.
"My daughter," he whispered. Mama Shade placed the child on Justina's chest. The moment the baby touched her mother, she stopped crying. Justina looked down. The child was small, warm, and beautiful. Her skin was soft and glowing with newborn life. Her tiny hands opened and closed. On her left shoulder was a small birthmark shaped like a calabash. Anne saw it and whispered, "Ah." Lady Augusta sank to her knees. Chief Obina gripped the doorframe. The baby opened her eyes. For one breath, they seemed older than any newborn's eyes should be. Then they softened. Human. Innocent. Just a baby. Justina wept over her. "My child," she whispered. "My beautiful girl."
Emeka moved closer slowly.
"Can I?" Justina looked at him.
He did not finish the sentence.
He did not demand. He waited. That waiting mattered. After a moment, Justina nodded. Emeka touched the baby's tiny hand with one finger. The baby curled her fingers around it. Emeka broke. He cried like a boy who had found the thing he nearly threw away. "I'm sorry," he whispered to her. "I will spend my life proving you are never a curse." The baby made a small sound. Anne sniffed. She said, "Meet sure." Justina gave a weak laugh. Then Chief Obina stepped into the room. Everyone turned. He looked older than he had downstairs. Much older. His shoulders had dropped. The authority that once filled rooms before him had drained away, leaving only a man standing before the consequence of his life. He looked at the baby. His lips trembled. "May I see her?" Anne's face hardened immediately. "From there, sir." Chief Obina nodded. He did not argue. That alone showed how far he had fallen. Justina looked at him for a long moment. Then she lifted the baby slightly, still keeping her close to her chest. Chief Obina stared at his granddaughter.
Tears gathered in his eyes. "She is beautiful," he whispered. Justina's voice was quiet. "She was beautiful when you rejected her too." The words hit him hard. He bowed his head. Yes. No defense. No argument. Only yes. Lady Augusta crawled closer on her knees, weeping openly. "Justina, what is her name?" The room became still. Justina looked at Emeka, then at Anne, then at Mama Shadi, then at the photograph of Nwakigo. Princess Eneka's voice came one final time, not from the baby's mouth, not from the water, not from the walls, but from everywhere. Let her carry a name that remembers, but does not imprison. Justina looked down at her daughter. "Eneka," she whispered first.
The room warmed. Then she added, Wakigo. Mama Shadi closed her eyes and whispered, Emeka, Wakigo. Justina smiled through tears. Emeka, Wakigo, Mboso. Emeka looked at her. Not Okorie. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He swallowed the pain and nodded. She is beautiful, he said. Justina understood what that nod meant. For once, he did not make the moment about his loss. That too mattered. Downstairs, the bronze bell rang softly. The birth was over. But the story had not finished. In the weeks that followed, the world heard what the Okorie family had buried. Not through gossip alone, not through market rumors, but through documents, recordings, trustee statements, legal findings, and the public confession that Chief Obinna eventually signed with shaking hands. The scandal shook Lagos. News blogs carried it for days. Some people called it unbelievable. Some called it justice. Some called it superstition mixed with law. Some said the Okories were victims of spiritual manipulation. Others asked why people only rejected tradition when it exposed the rich. But through all the noise, one truth stood firm. The wealth had not been cursed by the birth of a girl. It had been cursed by the rejection of one. The disputed holdings were transferred into the restored Eneka Women's Wealth Union Trust, with Justina named custodian. Lawyers reviewed decades of records. Families of the old women traders were traced. Some wept when they saw their grandmothers' names written in ledgers they never knew existed. Eneka House reopened after renovation. Not as a haunted old building, but as a living place. Part heritage fabric house, part women's business center, part legal aid fund, part training school for girls and young mothers who had been told they were burdens. Anne became operations manager by force. She claimed she was only helping temporarily, then printed business cards before anyone asked. Her title was Ain Okafo, Director of Common Sense and Emergency Wahala Management. Justina saw it and laughed until tears came. Chinwe, the bride who bought the first fabric, posted her wedding photos online. The burgundy material became famous. Soon, women began asking for Eneka House fabrics for weddings, naming ceremonies, birthdays, and family events. But Justina made one rule clear. Eneka House would not only sell beauty, it would tell stories. Every fabric carried a name. Every pattern carried a memory. Every sale helped fund a woman's beginning. As for Chief Obinna, he lost control of much of what he had fought to protect. He was not made poor, but he became smaller in the world's eyes. And for a man like him, that was its own punishment. He stepped down from the disputed companies. He attended private hearings. He made public statements he once would have considered humiliation. And every month, he came to Emeka House. At first, Justina refused to see him. Then one day, she allowed him to sit in the courtyard, not inside. He brought no lawyers, no assistants, no authority. Only baby clothes and silence. Anne collected the clothes, inspected them and said, "No hidden contract inside?" Chief Obinna almost smiled. No. Good, because this baby has legal department. Forgiveness did not come quickly, and the story does not need to lie. Some wounds do not close because someone cries once. Lady Augusta changed slowly too. She began speaking publicly to women in church groups and family gatherings, correcting the same lie she had once protected. The first time she held baby Nika, she wept so much that Anne moved closer and said, "Mommy, please don't baptize the child with regret." Lady Augusta laughed through her tears. It was the first honest laugh Justina had ever had from her. And Emeka, he did not move back into Justina's life as if apology were a key. He started from outside the gate. He showed up for hospital visits. He signed every legal protection Justina requested. He gave financial support without using it as control. He attended counseling. He testified against the false psychiatric attempt. He stood before family members and said again and again, "My daughter is not a cause. My silence was." Months passed before Justina allowed him to hold Nika alone. A year passed before she allowed him to call her without her heart tightening. Love did not return like lightning. It returned, if it returned at all, like a wounded bird, learning whether a hand had become safe. One evening, Justina stood on the balcony of Nika house with her daughter in her arms. The sun was setting over Lagos, painting the sky gold and purple. Downstairs, women laughed in the courtyard as Anne argued with a tailor about measurements. Baby Nika played with Justina's necklace, her little fingers tugging happily. Emeka stood a respectful distance away. "She has your eyes," he said softly. Justina smiled. "And your stubborn forehead." He laughed quietly. Then he became serious. "Do you think one day you will forgive me completely?" Justina looked at him. The old Justina might have rushed to comfort him. The new Justina told the truth. "I don't know." He nodded, accepting it. "But," she added, "I am no longer angry every time I see you." A small smile touched his face. "I will take that." Baby Nika suddenly turned her head toward him and laughed. A normal baby laugh. Sweet, bright, no thunder, no glowing documents, no cracking ground, just joy. Justina looked down at her daughter and felt peace settled in her chest. Not perfect peace, real peace. The kind that survives because it has seen fire and still chosen to breathe. That night, after everyone left, Justina sat alone in the main hall of Nika house. Her daughter slept in a cot beside her. The old photographs glowed faintly under the warm lights. Nwakigo's letter was framed on the wall. The golden calabash sat safely inside a glass case, not as an idol, but as a reminder. Mama Shade entered quietly. "You have done well," the old woman said. Justina smiled tiredly. "Have I? You chose restoration when revenge would have tasted sweeter." Justina looked at her sleeping daughter. "I still get angry." Mama Shade nodded. "Good. Anger tells you where something was wounded. Just don't let it become your landlord." Justina laughed softly. Mama Shade walked to the photograph of Nwakego. She can rest now. Justina's eyes filled. And Princess Nneka? Mama Shade smiled. She has not left. Blessings like that do not leave. They change form. Justina looked at her daughter again. The baby stirred in her sleep and smiled. For a moment, the bronze bell downstairs rang softly, though no one touched it. Justina whispered, "Thank you."
Whether she was speaking to God, to Nwakego, to Princess Nneka, to the women before her, or to the daughter sleeping beside her, even she did not know. Maybe gratitude does not always need one address. The next morning, Nneka House opened its doors officially. Women came from everywhere. Rich women, poor women, widows, brides, students, traders, mothers carrying daughters, fathers carrying daughters too. Some came to buy fabric, some came to hear the story. Some came just to stand in a place where daughters were not treated like apologies. At noon, Justina stepped outside with baby Nneka in her arms. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Anne stood beside her, already warning people not to push. Please respect yourself. This is a baby, not breaking news microphone. Justina smiled. Then she looked at the crowd and spoke. My daughter was rejected before she was born because some people believed a girl child could take wealth away. But they were wrong. A girl child does not take wealth from a family. A girl child reveals the poverty already hiding in their hearts. The crowd became quiet. She continued. May we never again call our blessings curses because they did not come in the form we expected.
Anne wiped a tear quickly and pretended dust had attacked her again. Justina lifted her daughter slightly. This is Nneka Nwakego Nwosu. She is not the child who destroyed a family. She is the child who exposed a lie and returned a forgotten name to honor. Applause rose. Soft at first, then powerful. Women cried. Men lowered their heads. Mothers held their daughters tighter. And somewhere inside a Nneka house, the old bronze bell began to ring. Not with warning this time, with welcome. Years later, people would tell the story in many ways. Some would say the baby spoke from the womb. Some would say the goddess of wealth returned. Some would say a pregnant woman defeated a billionaire family with courage, records, and one very loud friend. Some would argue about which parts were spiritual and which parts were legal. But every version agreed on one thing. The blessing the Okories rejected became the wealth they could no longer control. And from that day on, whenever a daughter was born in that family, nobody cried from disappointment. They brought gifts. They brought prayers. They brought fabric from a Nneka house. Because they had learned the hard way that the child you despise may be the doorway your future has been knocking through. And if you ever pass by Nneka house at dusk, when the market noise has faded and the air smells faintly of rain, you may hear a bell ring softly from inside. They say it rings for every woman whose name was once buried, and for every daughter who arrives carrying more blessing than the world is wise enough to recognize.
Oh, child of the hidden crown, they tried to bury your name in the ground. Oh, heaven has spoken today. What belongs to you, no hand can take away. In a house full of gold, there were secrets in the walls, smiles at the table, but betrayal in the halls. Justina gave her heart, believing she was safe, never knowing love was wearing a strange.